First of all, we've got to engage the leadership of the Islamic world. We've got to understand them better, as we ask for understanding of our system. We've got to understand, excuse me, that we can't impose our system on them. We can't ask them to surrender their culture to our culture. At the same time, they have to understand that we're entitled to our culture and we're entitled to our system. How do you get that level of understanding? You don't get it by just confronting each other. You get it by eventually speaking to one another. I mean, Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev eventually had to have a meeting, and they eventually had to talk about their common responsibility to the human race. And this Cold War with so many nuclear missiles aimed at each other and about to demolish the world had to end. And we had to come to a better understanding of our relationship. Didn't mean we had to agree with each other. Didn't mean they had to accept our principles or we theirs. We simply had to learn to tolerate each other. And that's going to happen in this world. And the globalization of trade and commerce can be a big help in that regard, or it can be a hindrance. I'm deeply concerned, for example, about what's happening in terms of China. I mean, all these bad products coming in have to be dealt with, but at the same time, we have to be careful we don't just isolate China again. We finally brought China, or they brought themselves with a lot of help into the world of nations, and they're part of WTO now. We need to respect that and somehow work through these problems without isolating them again. We've got to somehow deal with this religious conflict, and I'm not saying that's going to be easy. I think this is with us for quite a while, but we've got to somehow dialogue and somehow regain respect and ask for respect in return. That's not an easy one. It's going to take some leaders with some real vision and some real courage on the part of our country, and it's going to take a country that supports them. We're too divided. We've got, we still have the Florida experience in our mind, where election gets settled by the Supreme Court, and when we're used to elections being settled in the ballot box by Americans, and we've got to get past that. We've got to somehow remember that old admonition that partisanship ends at the water's edge, and that we've got to be united as we go into these very troubled years ahead.